We have with us Professor H.C.S. Rathore from Banaras Hindu University. Welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much.
From your experience, can you tell about the personal contact programs in the dual mode institutions?
Oh, sure. When you see personal contact programs, you will have to see them into two different categories. One is a personal contact program which is organized as a compulsory element inbuilt into the course, and other types of contact programs would be which are optional nature, and I see a difference between two of them. If the personal contact program is a compulsory inbuilt input of a particular course, then the student also mentally comes with an idea in his mind, well, I would be given certain units and I would be rather taught formally for 15 days, and he comes with that mentality. And most of the time the expectation of the student during such compulsory programs is that he would be formally taught by some university teachers, regular teachers, and he comes with that mind. And in case attending a personal contact program is not obligatory, then students come, only those students come who feel that they were trying to learn certain things of the course, but they are not in a position to clarify them for themselves, or they are not going to not able to properly understand them. Then in that case, when they come for a contact, they come for a very individualized sort of counseling, academic counseling and help. So these are two different things, and the total modus operandi of the two practically in the ground is different. This is what I feel.
You see, the open universities system in the country, they follow a different kind of approach. They call it academic counseling.
Right.
How do you differentiate between the personal contact programs and academic counseling, or they are same kind of things?
You have to understand what really counseling means. Counseling is a personalized help provided to an individual who seeks help. You can't counsel a person who doesn't want help. Now, here again one thing has to be very clearly understood, that it is not something which is feeding. It is the individual comes, he says, I have the difficulties. The role of the counselor is to identify as to what is the cause of those difficulties. I mean, the capability and the intelligence and the genius of the academic counsel lies not only in identifying what is the weakness, in identifying the causes of the weakness. And if he identifies the causes of the weakness, well, boy or friend or student, you have not learned this because you have failed to do this, you have failed to understand this, you have failed to understand this. Your previous units or the background knowledge that were required to understand this concept is weak. Do you realize this? And if the student realizes this, if the counselor helps him realize that, well, he has not been able to learn because of this, the student says, yes sir, I will do it myself. So basically the role of the counselor, when you use the word counselor, is to enable the student to take his own decisions, the best decisions, and to realize, well, why he has not been able to do it. Because what I personally feel, that the distance learning course material is a self-learning material. Now, this material is expected to provide each and every clue to understand the content, but still the student has not been able to understand. Then it is the counselor, academic counselor, who has to identify why he has not. But unfortunately, in the ground what I have come to observe is this happens very seldom. Why this happens very seldom is because most of the students, they come with the thinking, well, there is somebody sitting, he will tutor me. They come with the intention of tutoring, getting a tutorial help rather than being counseled. Another issue thing is that most of the counselors, academic counselors, have been taken from the traditional mode. And in traditional mode, these counselors are really not apt in counseling, they are rather apt in tutoring. And they feel more comfortable tutoring people than counseling. Whereas I personally feel, understanding distance education, that the role performed by the academic councils at the present time is really tutoring. They are doing more of tutoring than counseling, and that is the reason I see a scope, a very big scope for the training of academic counselors in using proper counseling techniques and helping the students in the distance education system.
Apart from this counseling the student, which is a kind of a effective domain, you also hinted about the role of the tutoring that the counselors are doing. What kind of specific roles that you see that academic counselors performing in the distance education system?
In fact, in the present scenario, he is a academic counselor. When you use the word academic counselor, the expectation is that he has to counsel only in the academic field. But practically what is happening is that he is a universal counselor, wherein a student not only comes to him for his learning needs, he also often approaches him for with his personal problems, difficulties he is facing in the submission of assignments, or coming to the contact programs, or maybe his residential problems at the place of counseling, and so many other personal issues. So, in fact, he is a multi-purpose counselor in our setup. Now, once you are taking the job of a multiple purpose counselor, many a times what really happens is the role of the academic counselor is subordinated to many other aspects. And in fact, if you ask me, in the distance education system, it is the academic counselor who is the ambassador of the open university or a distance teaching system. Your distance teaching students, they may not ever come in contact with you people who are sitting at the headquarters, who are the real course developers, who are supposed to be the real teachers. Most of the time, the student understands that we are his teacher, sitting at the study centers. So, it's a very important and delicate responsibility of the academic counselor. Another thing that I notice is that most of the learning materials of IGNOU, I am happy to say that they are written with great care and they are academically very strong, and many a times they include information which many of the counselors who have been picked up from colleges might not have even undergone. I can quote evidences, and we have conducted researches even on this aspect. And if the academic counselor has not read the material thoroughly, is not knowing the content thoroughly well, he can hardly deliver any academic help to the learner who comes to him. So, while picking up the academic counselors, one has to really think of picking up only those people who are academically that strong, and in case they are not, then they should be requested or asked to or compelled to go through the learning material that IGNOU has sent to the students. I mean, and unfortunately, there is no mechanism at present for doing this.
Can you identify the special needs of these women students in distance education and how those needs can be addressed through the learner support system?
Again, you have to specify the need. It is a personal need or academic need or what need. But basically, women students, when I say women students, I would like to categorize them into three categories. One is those young women for whom distance education is the only option, because they could not enter into the formal system. Now, such are the young women, and then comes the women who came into job and they want to further their studies. For them, distance education is a mode. And then comes a category of women who went into family lives, and now after 5 years or 7 years of gap, when they have reared up their children, they find they have spare time and they want to continue education. For them, it is a continuing option. Now, these three different categories of women in distance education have got three different types of problems. They may have similar academic learning problems, because when it comes to academic learning problems, the problems are based on the content. But when it comes to their personal problems, they will have three different categories of personal problems. expecting the academic counselor to tackle the personal problems of the three categories and at the same time providing them the academic counseling also. It's a very I have already said in the very beginning, it's a multiple role. I don't think that I need to highlight the personal problems of these three categories of women, but at the same time what I would like to specifically hint at, that majority of the women, be they from any category, they want to be called, if they are compulsorily required to be called for a contact program, they want to be called at a time that they can reach back home before dusk.
Right.
This is very important. Now, any woman coming from outstation and she knows that she cannot return back home and she has to bring an escort, or she has to have a relative in the city. If she does not have, then she has problems of staying, and often academic counselors are faced with these problems, and the academic counselor cannot ask people to stay in his residence or in the institution. So, somehow if the number of women students is increasing and the universities feel that at a particular center or somewhere there is a need for some working women's accommodation or some temporary transit accommodation for such women, then this is the biggest demand that comes from women. But I don't think this has to do anything with counseling. What the academic counselor can best say is, okay, fine, in this city these are the places which are safe for the women, you can stay there.
Now, that also takes us to another thing, that there are another group of learners who are learners with special needs. For example, the visually impaired students or the physically challenged students. What kind of systems that you would visualize and suggest to help these kind of students through the learner support system in distance education?
This is a very delicate question, at the same time a complicated question to answer, because if you analyze the learning needs of the three categories of disabled people which are broadly categorized, one is the blind people, blind category, the other one is the hearing impaired, and the third one could be mentally retarded. Distance education worldwide has students who are blind and it has students who are hearing impaired. There are a large number of students who are orthopedically handicapped or physically disabled. Now, since these three groups of students, their intellectual functioning is intact. When I say intellectual function is intact, I say they are intellectually as normal as we all are. So, this simply means that they can learn whatever a normal person can learn. However, they can learn whatever a normal person can learn when they get all the stimuli that a normal person gets to learn.
Right.
Now, in the case of a visually impaired person, he does not get the total stimuli what a sighted person gets because of the lack of vision. For example, whatever verbal stimuli you give him, he can hear it and grasp it. If you give him something to read in print, it does not work. So, naturally there has to be material in braille for him. Now, in the case of a hearing impaired, he does not get the oral stimuli, but he gets lot of visual stimuli. So, naturally the learning material and learning has to either come through the visual media or it has to come through the language that he understands. You can't imagine your academic counselors doing this everywhere. It's not possible. You will, we have a special education department and we are advertising posts for last 5 years and we are not able to recruit people. So, you don't have people who can cater to these needs. But what the system can do is that the system must prepare learning material which is suitable for them. In the case of the visually impaired children, okay, fine, there are universities and I have seen some of your material also which is in braille, but naturally every material has to be transcribed into braille. And not only this, that a lot of audio media has to be given. All your material has to be feeded into the audio cassettes which the students can use at their own space or at their own speed and convenience. at the study centers, they should not be asked and they should not be compelled to come to the study centers because they have a lot of mobility problems. They should all be given this to study and take home. Similarly, in the case of hearing impaired children, things have to be done into the visual media, a lot of things in visual media, everything in visual media, more of video, more of video. So, whereas you need to transcribe things into audio media for the blind, you need to transcribe things in the visual media for the hearing impaired. Now, as far as the physically challenged people are concerned, what is really required, and of course, if you are you may be knowing that under the Disability Act, every institution has to become disability friendly,
barrier free.
Barrier free. So, IGNOU must ensure that all the study centers and wherever at least the physically challenged students are required to come are barrier free. I mean, this is the minimum thing that can be done for them. And in fact, it's a very unending process, and you have to really make an individual assessment of every child, his needs.
Right.
And as far as learning needs are concerned, they are similar because they are intellectually and academically same. The only requirement is in terms of learning needs is the material that I have already clarified.
You have touched upon various issues and qualities and the skills in the overall discussion. Please summarize some of the basic qualities and skills that the academic counselors should have and training should be given on those areas.
Sure. First of all, you have to give him a personality input. He has to be a patient hearer. He shouldn't be an overreacting person, because it's the basic qualification of any counselor. Counselor can give you the best options and best suggestions only when he hears you very patiently, because when he hears you very patiently, he is able to identify where you are wrong and where you are weak and where you need what type of help. This is one. So, some personality training has to be given. This is one. Then the counselor has to have certain knowledge of the psychological background. He has to have certain knowledge of the psychology and psyche of the adult and particularly the students. He is to come across various groups, and particularly in distance education, he might come across a teenager, 19, he is an undergraduate student, and he may also come across a 70-year-old, say my retired father. He has to understand the motives of all these people. So, at least he has to be given a proper feedback about the motives of students coming to distance education, which of course the distance education system can feed to him. Because for example, a teacher of physics or botany or chemistry or management or education sitting in a conventional system, he really does not know the motives of your students. He understands the motives of his own students. So, it is I think it is the role of the distance teaching systems to identify the motives of their students and give a training about the motives to those people. So, this is one. Now, again, it is the distance education systems who have to study and conduct researches to understand the learning needs, personal needs, psychological needs, and whatever needs of their students. And after proper identification of these needs, they have to then see what skills the counselor has to have, using those skills that he can meet these needs specifically. You can't really standardize skills because there is a large span of courses. There is a large variety of courses, but at the same time there could be certain core skills. For example, how to handle a group situation, how to say for example counsel one-to-one, how to counsel when it is a large group, how to meet at the same time large variety of needs, because it may be possible for me Sunday is fixed, I have to go to the counseling session for Sunday, and I find that there are 11 students present, all 11 students with different types of problems. So, how to handle multiple problems in the given set of time, this requires certain skills, special training and certain specific skills. So, you have to identify, and this identification job has to be done by you, because I am trained in a situation, in a perspective where we say that there has to be a unit in any distance teaching open university, which should constantly monitor all these time to time developments and issues and problems. And that is the reason, if you know, I have a long experience of being in the FAN University in Germany, where they had a center for the development of distance education, and at the same time a center for research in distance education. Now, this center, which was exclusively a research in distance education, was giving a feedback of all types of information, all such types of information, and the Center for Development was taking into account and cognizance all these suggestions and then trying to modify the system. It is an ongoing process, and I am given to know that you have made a very good beginning in the area of training of academic counselors. It is a very good beginning, and it should have in fact taken place, started at the very inception of the university, but better late than never, and it is an ongoing process. We have undergone through the material that is being developed. It will improve and improve day by day. These inputs can be taken in. That is what I feel at this time.
Thank you very much, Professor Rathore. We are privileged to have you and listen to your views. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.